Miller was my father. Bill was a B-17 pilot in World War II, and in September 1944, he was shot down over Nazi Germany.
I am Derek Rusnak, son of Cookie Miller Rusnak, who was Mark Miller's sister. I am a grandson of Bill Miller.
My name is Katie Miller, now Katie Cossack. I am the daughter of Mark and Diana Miller, wife to Brenton Cossack, and granddaughter to Bill Miller.
I'm Paul Miller, son of Mark and grandson of Bill. Today, we want to put together this video to memorialize his acts of bravery and to explain those fraught moments surrounding his shoot-down that came so close to causing the generation starting with my dad and his sister to never happen. Here's some footage shot near the end of the war, showing the Russian army releasing war prisoners, while you hear from those of us who are Bill's descendants.
On September 28, 1944, while on mission in his B-17 bomber, Grandpa and his crew were shot down by Oberleutnant Horst Hase. Hase flew an FW-190A8 fighter plane. The footage of Grandpa being shot down was from the nose camera of Hase's fighter, which was later used to teach other Nazis how to shoot down Allied bombers. Grandpa and his 3 surviving crewmates parachuted from their bomber before it crashed and landed close to a small village. In a field with no cover, German soldiers approached, along with an angry and armed civilian. He was asking Grandpa questions in German. 4 engines? Were you flying that plane? Grandpa tried to answer, but the civilian was inconsolable. The soldiers tried to separate them, but the civilian was faster. He pistol-whipped Grandpa in the face and stormed off. The soldiers took Grandpa to their house and later to POW processing.
A few days later, Bill and 80 other prisoners were sent to another detention center near Wetzlar, Germany. A few days later, they would board a train on a 5-day trip to a fishing town called Barth, near the shores of the Baltic Sea. That was the site of the Stallagluft No. 1, the Nazi war prison where my granddad was incarcerated as a prisoner of war along with 8,000 other men. My grandpa Bill was there until the camp was liberated by Russian troops after the Nazi surrender and the war was over on May 13, 1945. You are still watching on your screen their joyous release in 1945 at the end of the European War.
There were moments when Grandpa Bill's life dangled by a string, moments where, if things had gone just a little differently, none of us would be here. When his B-17 was shot out of the sky, Bill was one of only 4 survivors, and only 3 of these men would survive the war. After being captured on the ground, a German civilian threatened to kill him with a pistol, and this man was stopped by the officer who captured Bill by pointing Bill's own .45 at the civilian and telling him firmly to walk away.
Not all Allied POWs survived the Nazi war camps, but Grandpa did. I can only imagine how relieved he was 8 months later, in May of 1945, when he and many others were liberated.
We are all grateful for Bill Miller and for the generations that almost never were.
And now, these Miller generations live on with great passion and purpose.
The experiences Bill Miller endured makes him an American hero, which he would have never called himself. He was an inspiration to us all.
On behalf of our entire family, we're very glad you survived, Dad. This video will be enjoyed for generations to come.